Get ready for an exciting journey as we embark on a multi-episode series where we delve into the world of metal mixing, and we'll be able to take a mix that sounds like this and turn it into this. In episode 1, we'll demystify the power of EQ, an invaluable tool that shapes your sound, but that's just the beginning. Join me in the upcoming episodes where we'll uncover the secrets of compression, add warmth with saturation, and dive into an expansive world of spatial effects. Whether you're just starting out or looking to refine your skills, we've got you covered with beginner-friendly tips, all with free plugins. We will also be using free guitar and bass amp synths. Let's turn your passion into sonic mastery. This is where your journey begins. Our goal is to harness that thick, weighty sound while preserving clarity and equilibrium. And here's the kicker, we'll be harnessing the power of free plugins, readily available in the links below. I've also included stems for your convenience so you can follow along with me. Now let's unravel the mystique of EQ. EQ is the most important tool for any mixing engineer. It empowers us to mold the tonal landscape of our tracks, unveiling the true potential of each instrument. In essence, EQ grants us control over the frequency content of our audio. The ability to boost or cut specific frequencies enables us to enhance or diminish certain aspects of a sound. Picture this, augmenting the low end for a seismic kick drum punch, or delicately shaving off high frequencies to tame cymbal harshness. Now let's dissect the various types of EQ maneuvers at your disposal. Two primary techniques dominate, cuts and boosts. Cuts reduce the intensity of specific frequencies, while boosts amplify them. It's the synergy of these methods that elevate your mix. Precision is paramount when wielding EQ. Subtle adjustments can yield profound results, emphasizing the mantra that less often transcends into more. First in our arsenal are the high-pass and low-pass filters. The high-pass filter ushers frequencies above a defined cutoff point, while subduing those below. Conversely, the low-pass filter permits frequency below a certain point, restraining those above. Moving forward, we encounter shelf EQs. Armed with a Q value exceeding 1, these EQs empower us to modulate frequencies above or below a specific threshold. The high shelf orchestrates boosts or cuts beyond this point, while the low shelf commands the same for frequencies below. The Q value dictates the slope of the shelf, influencing the extent of boost or cut. Lastly, enter the realm of bell EQs. Sporting a variable Q value, these EQs allow you to fine-tune the width of the effective frequency band. Picture a bell EQ sculpting a chosen range of frequencies around a central point. A high Q value narrows the bandwidth, honing into a precision range like a surgical EQ, while a lower Q value broadens the spectrum, influencing a wider array of frequencies around it. Mastery of these diverse Q values empowers you to execute surgical precision in your adjustments, culminating in the desired tone for your metal mixes. Now let's delve into the frequency ranges that define our sonic canvas. These ranges are like colors on our palette, each with its own unique character. Sub-bass, between 20 and 60 Hz, the foundation. Felt more than heard, providing the bedrock for bass-heavy sounds. Bass, between 60 and 250 Hz, the realm of fundamental frequencies for most bass instruments, adding warmth and body. Low mids, aka the boxy frequency, contributes thickness and fullness, but be mindful of the muddiness in this area. Mid-range, between 500 and 2K, the heart of presence, impacting clarity, warmth, and overall character. High mids, between 2 and 6K, presence and clarity reside here. Boost add definition, but excess may introduce harshness. Presence, between 6 and 8,000 Hz, it enhances presence or attack, making vocals more intelligible and instruments more forward. This is also where you may need to de-ess. High frequencies, between 8 and 20K, adds airiness and sparkle, contributing to perception of clarity and openness. When it comes to metal, understanding common areas of EQs such as boxy range, nasal frequencies, and bite frequencies can help you effectively enhance or reduce certain elements in your mix. Let's delve into each. The boxy range, typically found in the mid-range between 200 and 600 Hz. The boxy range is associated with a muffle or hollow sound, aka boxy. It can make instruments or vocals sound less defined and can contribute to a sense of congestion in the mix. To alleviate boxiness, consider making subtle cuts in this frequency range. However, be cautious not to remove too much, as it can also affect the warmth and body of certain instruments. The nasal frequencies, primarily in the mid-range around 1 to 2K. Nasal frequencies give a honky or nasal quality to the sounds. They can make vocals or certain instruments sound unpleasant and lack clarity. To reduce nasal qualities, you can apply gentle cuts in a specific frequency range. This helps to clear up the sound and bring out more natural tones. And then we have the bite frequencies, commonly found in the high mid-range, around 2 to 4K. Bite frequencies add an edge or sharpness to the sounds. While they can enhance the presence of some instruments, an excess may lead to harshness or fatigue for the listener. If a sound is too piercing or harsh, consider making subtle cuts in the bite frequency. On the other hand, a boost in this range can add clarity and definition to certain elements, especially guitars. It's important to note that these frequency ranges are general guidelines, and the specific frequencies may vary based on the instrument or audio source. Additionally, context matters. What works well for one instrument might not be suitable for the other. When using EQ, always trust your ears and make adjustments based on the overall balance of your mix and what works for you. Experimenting with different EQ settings and understanding the characteristics of these common areas will empower you to sculpt your audio to achieve the desired tone, balance, and clarity. If you haven't already, there's links in the description to all the free plugins we're going to use and the stems if you would like to follow along. If this information has been helpful so far, please consider subscribing, liking. It really helps out the channel. Without further ado, let's get into the mix and start using some EQ. Now we are in the DAW. I'm going to play a quick section of the song with vocals so you can get an idea of the song we're going to be working with. Alright, so you get the idea there. I picked this song, The End Is Near, because it just has bass, guitar, and drums. It's not too fast, it's not too dense, and for a beginner tutorial, I felt this was a good one for that. So I am going to solo the drums, and then we'll go through each of the sections that I'm using EQ on. These are MIDI drums, so they're already heavily processed, so you don't want to do too much to them and really bake them. So, drum soloed. Now if we go to the kick, open our EQ, I have a high pass here to 20 Hertz. Anything below 20 is just eating up headroom. You're not going to hear it. You're not going to feel it. Our fundamental is right around 60 Hertz, so I have a slight little bump there. And then I have a high shelf. You hear how the tack disappears? And that gives that nice clicky kick drum sound that we like in metal. Moving over to the snare, I have a high pass all the way up to about 50 Hertz. Anything below that's just eating up headroom. Our fundamental is right around 120, between 100 and 120. Your mileage might vary depending on what snare drum you're using. I have a little bump there, and then I have these 3 bell cuts right around that nasty, boxy 500 range. So right here, after the fundamental, you see how boxy and kind of gross it sounds. That's getting some of that ring out of there, right at 500. And that's just kind of that nasal frequency we were talking about earlier, and that cleans my snare up. Moving on, the only other track I have EQ on is the brass, which is going to be all of our cymbals, spot mics, everything brass, obviously. So I have a high pass up to 100. Some people will go higher, like all the way up to 500, but I don't like that. I don't like that really thin sound, but some people do like that for metal. So if you're trying to get that sound, just move this high pass to taste. I like to get a little bit of the thump from the snare, which is still going to be around 120. And then I cut with a bell right around 6K. You hear if we raise that up, You get that annoying harshness. This just cleans that up, and then I top it off with a little bit of a high shelf afterwards to bring some of that sheen back. So that is it for drums. Let's move on to another section for the instrument bus. So now we're going to go through our instrument bus, and I'll show you all the EQ moves I did on the guitars and the bass. So the bass here is using the growler, which is a free bass amp sim. On the hot setting, you hear that brings out that nice growly clangety clang that we all like in metal, and the growl. Those two on, everything else is default when you open up this plugin. As far as the EQ goes, there's a lot going on here, but just like everything else, we're high passing almost all the way up to 80, because we want our kick to have a little breathing room around at that 60 hertz. So we cut that from the bass. So those two can work in conjunction with each other, fit nicely together. You hear if I put the drums on, you can hear the kick good, you can hear the drums good. That's what we're looking for. Beautiful relationship between these two instruments. And then the old enemy of metal, the boxy range. So I'm cutting here at 300 to get some of that. I just don't like that sound. This like really cleans it up. And then when we're looking for some of that clank, it's going to be between 900 and 1K. So you hear if I lower that, you don't have that nice bite to cut through the mix. And I'm going 6 dB on it, but when you put it with the guitars, they play very nice together. But if I pull this down, the bass almost disappears. Now you can hear it. And then for the final little bit, we're just cutting out anything below 6K on a bass. A metal bass anyway is completely useless and unnecessary. So just chop that out of there. Moving on. So for the guitars, it's going to be a pretty similar EQ across every guitar track. I'm high passing to like 200 hertz because our bass is going to fill all this out. We don't need it. And then the digital harshness on amp sims is pretty terrible, so I am low passing all the way up to 8K. It's just that nastiness that we don't need. So I do it all the way to like 7K to chop that out, and then you'll see on these coming up. We have another dip here around 400 hertz, and that's just to clean the guitars up a little bit more. And then I just copy that over to every guitar track. Leads are a little different. I cut a little bit more on the high and low pass, but otherwise that's your general EQ guidelines for guitars, especially amp sim guitars. And then on the drum bus itself, I'm just doing the Andy Sneap trick. So this is a dynamic band, and when there is palm mutes, this will kick into effect and just push those palm mutes down a little bit. We don't have any palm mutes right now, but that's just on there on every drum bus I've ever done. You can use anything as long as it's cutting between 100 and about 200 hertz. It'll catch those palm mutes and just keep your guitars nice and clean. I forgot to mention what we're using here is a free amp sim called Amped Roots. It's really good, and it has everything you need. It's got a tuner, it's got your pedal board with a noise gate, compressor, drive, chorus, delay, reverb, and it has your cab section where you can load your own IRs. I'm just using the default just to prove that we can make the song sound good on default settings. That was the first episode of the Beginner's Guide to Mixing Metal. EQ, the basics of EQ. Hopefully you have a better understanding of what EQ is and how to apply it in a mix. Stay tuned for the next episode, which is going to be on compression. Once that one is out, I'll put it up here. Thanks for watching, and can't wait to see you on the next episode. Don't forget to look in the description for the links to the free plugins and the stems for this track so you can follow along with me. See you on the next one.